inspire, greatness at track number 9. Stay on the right track and let your light shine. Step by step, reach for what's true. Track number 9, your greatness is waiting for you.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to track number 9. Thank you to all those that's tuning in, that's joining us from your cars, from your cell phones, from your tablets, sitting in your living room, enjoying your cup of coffee, your cup of tea. Thank you for joining us. I am your host, Monica Cooper. And the first thing I want to do is say Ramadan Kareem to all the brothers and sisters that's fasting. May your fast be blessed and may Allah be pleased with you. The second thing I want to do is I want to welcome our guest into the studio, Miss Sarah Matthews. And on this Saturday, we will be discussing older adults. Yep, I said older adults. I didn't say old folks. I didn't say any of that. Sometimes, every once in a while, I slip up. I might say seniors, but people like Miss Sarah will surely correct me. I'll give you a little bit of information about Baltimore City. Baltimore is home to 568,271 residents, and nearly 15% of them, that's between 85,000 and 88,000, are older adults aged 65 and up. These are the hands that built our neighborhoods, the voices that raised our families, the wisdom keepers of our communities. And I have that research thanks to brother Joe Richards L. He is my he's part of my research team. But this morning, most of all, we want to acknowledge the challenges that the community is facing. Too many older adults have become targets of violence. Their sense of safety has been shaken. Neighborhoods and homes, beyond physical safety, there's a mental health crisis brewing in isolation, in the fear of aging alone, in the struggle to navigate systems that seem designed to push people outside rather than lift them up. So that's the conversation that we are having today. And man, Miss Sarah Matthews, Miss Sarah is, I won't even say your age. After 25, folks don't even say that, even though it's something to be proud of. Nowadays, when you can reach 60, 70, 80, it's a blessing. And more of us should embrace it. The gray hair that I got going on, I got my hair covered today, but the gray hair that I got going on, I'm all right with it. Because I'm grateful to our Lord for allowing me to still be here. But Miss Sarah is a native of Chicago. She made her home in Baltimore decades ago. She's an educator, former Baltimore Democratic State Central Committee member, and currently sits on the Baltimore City Commission of Aging. During COVID, she organized vaccination clinics that served over 3,000 people when the city said it couldn't be done. Her testimony to City Council helped create the Office of Older Adults Affairs and Advocacy. Man, introduce yourself to us, Miss Sarah. Tell the world who you are. Good morning, Cousin Gregory.
Good morning, Monica. Before we get started, I want to just say thank you for caring about older adults. We appreciate anyone who exhibits a dedicated interest in and taking action to enhance our quality of life, because we're only thought of in most cases when it comes to voting, because we vote more than anybody, as you well know, in the country. And so that most people don't recognize us until it's time to vote. But I just want to correct some things. I am not on the Commission of Aging anymore. I actually got kicked off, to be honest. And, I'm an honest person, so I tell it like it is. I was kicked off of the Commission on Aging. However, and the number that we vaccinated was more like 2,000 people.
Okay.
So I just want to be transparent with that. I am the founder and chairperson of the Gary Magnum Empowerment Team. And we are a boots on the ground organization, and we advocate for older adult. I would like to take this opportunity to thank those individuals who have been supportive of the older adults and our issues in Baltimore City, and that's Senator Cory McCray, Delegate Malcolm Ruff, and Vice President Sharon Green Middleton, and President Zeke Cohen. And those individuals have helped us to create some spaces where the legislation that they created for us will help us to navigate our living spaces more safely. Older adults, I want to also just give you some information, because individuals think that we all live in facilities. We don't live in facilities. I live in a senior residential housing complex. Facilities are only nursing homes and assisted living facilities. But those of us, which is 143,000 of us who live in what I'll say here, senior building, but the appropriate name is senior residential housing. And those individuals who live in their private homes are considered older adult, aging in place. And of course, since they have more control over their environment, we don't have the same problems. The issue in Baltimore City, unfortunately, is the older adult who live in senior housing buildings. And one of the things that is really astonishing to me is those of us who live in senior residential housing, we don't have fire drills. Even though I've been in this building for about 13 years, and prior to that, I was in a building in Upper Park Heights, and for 2 years. And doing these 15 years in senior buildings, I have never experienced a fire drill. And even though we had an older adult to get burned up in Drew Lake Park building, no one did anything. So if there's a fire, we don't know where to go. And that is really an issue for veterans who are amputees. There is an issue for the disabled older adults, because when there is a fire, the fire department only go so far in terms of the number of floors. So what we did was we went to Vice President Councilwoman Sharon Middleton, and we shared that with her, and she introduced legislation that passed about a year ago, requiring that the Baltimore City Fire Department do 3 fire drills per year in older adult buildings. So we owe her a large thank you for making sure that the older adults do get out of the building. I want to also talk about what our issues are so that everyone know that out front. And this applies to all older adults. We don't have enough vouchers that would allow older adults to move into spaces where they pay reduced rent. And we're not against young people having vouchers. We're just saying, as Reverend Jesse Jackson used to say when I was going to Operation Push, we don't want the whole hog, but we want a piece of the hog. So we want the state to provide additional vouchers for affordable housing for older adults. Unfortunately, the African American older adults don't have the same policies and procedures as, say, the Caucasian or the upper middle income older adults have. And I'm just going to be very honest about this. Catholic Charities and the Chi organization, they don't have mixed use building, but most of the mixed use buildings are in the African American community. We are not opposed to young people living in a building with us if they are law-abiding citizens, but that's where most of the issue comes in, with young people selling drugs, bringing weapons into senior buildings, and that is a problem. The second issue is transportation. There is a lack of fleet vehicles to transport us to doctor's appointments and around the city. If you're an older adult, and this is so humiliating for us, if you're going to go to the doctor, you have a 9 a.m. appointment, you must wear a depend because there is no bathroom stop, there is no water stop. So if you need to take your medication throughout the day, you need to take your own water, and there's no bathroom stop, so you definitely have to wear depends. All of that we have done for this country, we should not have to wear depends. If you have a 9 a.m. doctor's appointment, you have to be ready to get on the mobility bus at 5 a.m. And when you get back home, it is approximately 7 or 8 p.m. And if oftentimes we are left and the bus never come back and pick us up. We talk about the African American men, but my neighbor, and I was outside having an asthma attack at 4 a.m. in the morning, and the bus came and dropped a lady off. And I said, Miss, why are you coming from wherever you're coming from at 4 a.m.? She said, because the bus driver told me to wait for him at Security Mall, and he never returned. And after the mall closed, I went up on the street and sat in the bus depot. And then this young African-American man, young man came by and asked her, ma'am, why are you sitting waiting for the bus at 2 a.m. in the morning? She said, I'm waiting for mobility to pick me up. They said they were going to come back to pick me up, but they didn't. He said, do you have a relative's phone number? She said, yes, her niece worked at Bon Secure. He called her niece and he waited there with her till her niece came and picked her up around 8 a.m. in the morning. So the other issue is for us in older adult building is public safety. When there was vandalizing and stealing of vehicles, no one talked about the fact that in South Baltimore, in Pigtown, more older adults had their cars stolen and vandalized than any other population in the city of Baltimore. And because, and in my building, we were held hostage. People ask me, what do you mean by you were held hostage? There was a young man, a Caucasian young man, came in and asked the lady at the front desk if he could use the bathroom. She said yes. He has stolen some objects out of someone's backyard in the community. They were chasing him. He came in, he locked the older adults in the lobby with a machete. One of the city council people, who was Eric Costello at the time, was able to get that squash. No one ever addressed the fact that older adults were held hostage. I was on the outside. I called the police, and the police came, and they were very abusive to me because I was yelling and screaming that if this was an African American young man, you guys would not be gently talking to him to try to get him to unlock the door. And there was a nurse outside. She couldn't get in to her patient, and nothing ever happened with that issue. The most other urgent issue that we are facing is inoperable elevators. There was a young man. Oftentimes, elevators in older adult buildings don't work for between 2 weeks to 1 year. And at one of the complexes, a veteran, older adults were downstairs. They were told by the security person that they would have to sleep in the lobby because the elevator wasn't working, and that there's no elevator repair service at night. And there was a veteran who is a double amputee crawling from the first floor to the 12th floor because he had to take his medication. And that is what Senator Cory McCray and Delegate Malcolm Ruff just did for us in this session. They introduced a bill to have a database created for elevators, because one of the shocking issues that we found out when we did our research, the empowerment team, every elevator is certified by the Department of Labor License and Regulation. But what they do, they don't actually come out and inspect the elevators. The management company of older adult buildings, and any building and any business in Baltimore City, are responsible for hiring their own inspector. And that inspector gives the report to the management company, who gives it to Dollar, and Dollar reissues the certification without even knowing that older adults have been stuck in the elevator. No one keeps those records, and we can't get upstairs with our groceries. If you're disabled, you can't get upstairs. You just have to wait and be patient while management the next day come in and call the repair service. And we're happy to say that Senator McCray's bill passed, where we are asking the Department of License, Labor, and Regulation to create in this database a category that shows how long elevators are inoperable and the period of time that they have been inoperable. And that way I want any older adults who's listening out there, listening to our show, your show.
It's our show, sister. You said it right. This is our show. Track number 9 All of these people that's on this show, Miss Sarah, they are all community people. They're people that you know, that I know, that go to your church, go to the mosque, people formerly incarcerated, older people, young people from California, my brother from Cambridge. They're from all over the country that's listening, and from all over the city and state. So this our show. But go ahead, Miss
Thank
Sarah.
you. And so they're gonna create this database. We now know that we didn't know before this bill was introduced, that there is a complaint form that you can get from DALA and report the fact that your elevator hasn't been working, because that is the only way we can force the powers to be to change the elevators. And what my building and a lot of 20 other buildings that's called the RAD buildings have been renovated, but they have not renovated the elevators and the HVAC system, because those are the most two expensive items in any place to repair. So they want us to take our rent, but they don't want to correct the issues that are causing us to have a safety issue. Because if your elevator isn't working, I don't care if the firemen are here, there isn't anything that they can do. And again, I'm really speaking out about this issue for the disabled older adults and the veterans who cannot access their way out if there is a fire. The other thing is, today we are the senior centers are under attack, and there are about 8 or 10 senior centers. Unfortunately, the centers in the African American community are closing. People don't know that the Waxler Center is closing. There are older adults from Central Baltimore, from the east side of Baltimore, that uses that center. But as of May 31st, they're are closing that center, and it's because there's mold in the building. Allegedly, there are other rumors out there that the building has been sold to Johns Hopkins. We are not sure, to be honest with you, what is going on. I think it is atrocious that the older adults in West Baltimore have to go to the Reisterstown Senior Center because Forest Park Senior Center is closed. I tried calling there a week or two ago, and the phone is totally disconnected. That was a center that mostly people that go to that center, it lives in like in the area of Park Heights, Upper Park Heights, Arlington, and some other community neighborhoods. In fact, I used to go there often to watch Miss Rollins, Stephanie Rollins Blake mom, who used to go there in her bridge club, but they've had to go to the county for the last 2 years to get together. And if we can't get together, we suffer from social isolation. Dr. Thomas Cujo is working with us from Hopkins. He's an African-American physician. He cares about older adults, and he brought about 30 of us together to talk about how we can prevent social isolation, because some older adults are just depressed. They don't have relatives. Like me, for an example, I have one relative in the state of Maryland, and he lives in Oxon Hill. So that's where I go if I need support for my family. But there are some older adults we don't have, who are, I would say, in their 80s or 90s, they
Mhm.
don't have family members
Mm.
because more maybe the family members have passed on. They don't have school friends. And one of the lady who was like 87 said to me one day, I said, so why, I called her Aunt Ann. I said, Aunt Ann, why don't you have your friends over? She said, because all of my friends that I went to school with are deceased.
Mm.
And the friends that I have now, I've just met them at the senior center within the last 10 months. And
Mm.
she said that all of her relatives, she only had two siblings. She said, all of my relatives are deceased. My parents are deceased, and I have no one. And
Mhm.
when you have no one, and no one invites you over for Christmas, then that just leads into social isolation, and you drink more.
Mm.
You engage in other unhealthy behavior. And last year, we found out through an article in the New York Times and in the Brood that 60% of African American males 60 and over are overdosing in older adult buildings.
Mm.
That's one of the things that we are working on with the Johns Hopkins and the University of Maryland to find health care for those individuals so that we don't drink ourselves to death. It is really upsetting to know that some of us can't get outside. We have cars. And one of the other issues that I want to point out here is what we think would change our situation is managers. Most of the managers in the older adult building, they've been a management manager for 15, 20 years.
Mm.
They come up with their own rules and policies, and they get a bonus every month if the building is filled to capacity. So they end up letting anyone move in, and they threaten older adults. Don't talk about your issues. If you do, I'm going to evict you.
Mm.
And most of us cannot afford to move because you got to pay 2 and 3 months of security. No older adults, because I think I'm active. I'm 74. I'm a proud 74-year old, but I don't have the energy to pack up all of my life savings
Mm.
and my furnitures and all of that and move to another location, because it's going to probably cost me about $5,000 to move. I got to pay someone to move me, which is might run into about $2,000 or $3,000, and then I've got to pay 2 months of security deposit, 1 month of rent, and now they're even charging us for water in some cases. And just to not leave the older adults who are aging in place out of this conversation, some of them are losing their homes
Mm.
because of water bills. And
Mm.
just recently, I think Councilwoman Middleton introduced some legislation to require that the city try and come up with a payment plan so that older adults do not lose their home to water bill. Because oftentimes when that happens, it is in court. You find out by standing outside on the circuit court while they're trying to sell your property.
Mm.
And then the other issue with older adult aging in place, they need home repair. They don't have enough money to keep up their home insurance. And so the city had a program during the election, and this is the absolute truth. But after the election, the money went away, and they were told that we have a loan, and you get this loan, you can never sell your property until you pay off the loan. So if you die within that time period, then the property is just going to go to the city. So there needs to be more money put into the home repair so that older adults can have a safe and warm place to stay. And I'm going to stop right there. I could go.
Hey, it's all good.
But there's one other thing that I want to mention, and that is older adults who are incarcerated. The older adults in my organization, the empowerment team, we lobbied for legislation by, I think, Senator Hedeman, and I got with Olinda Moyd, and we lobbied and was able to pass legislation to ask that all of the older adults who are terminally ill be released from prison. And I was amazed to find out that it was twice as expensive to keep them incarcerated as it was to allow them to come out and get treatment. And I just think that was deplorable. The first year it failed, but last year it passed. And that's something that we are happy that we were able to do for the older adults in jail that was incarcerated. So I'm going to stop. I said a lot.
Wow, it's all good because man, you have shared so much information, and the one thing I want to say is that you touched on legislation. I believe Sister Crystal Parker, she's actually running for delegate in the 40th district. But Sister Crystal Parker put in the chat that it's Senate Bill 286. So write that down. Take a quick note. That is the elevator bill. If you want to look at that bill, that Senator Cory McCray, which happened to have been one of our wonderful guests on this show, and Delegate Malcolm Ruff, which happens to be our guest for next week. So you get to hear from Delegate Malcolm Ruff about these pieces of legislation. And then you had mentioned Senator Hedelman. Senator Hedelman working on that bill to get people who are languishing in prison, 40 and 50 years of incarceration. These people are no longer a threat to our society. Absolutely. And the amount of money that it takes to take care of them. Sister Linda Moore just so happened to be here today, checking you out. She's here in the chat, and she says, thank you for remembering older adults in prison. But I met this guy named Charlie Ford. Charlie Ford, I met him through a Canadian guy that was doing a documentary on lifers. And we went up there across the street from Levendale. There is a senior therapeutic kind of place on, I think that is Belvedere. And when I went in there, man, I got pictures of me and Mr. Charlie Ford. He was so hilarious. He was so funny. Charlie Ford had spent about 60 years behind the wall, and he came out, I think, under the Unger law. But he was so fun. He said that they used to call him Mr. Baseball because during the time he was incarcerated, they didn't have no fences around, and they would have the inmates from different facilities go and play other inmates. That's a meeting that I will never forget, that man spent, 60 years or more behind the wall. So definitely we have to consider things that are changing.
Absolutely.
Because you have the Unger law that had 100 and maybe 92 men and one woman come out of incarceration, and the average stay behind a wall probably was about 30, 40 years, maybe up to at least 47 years. So when these folks come home, they are like 60, 65, 70, and 75 years old. Man, I want to give a shout out to Bishop Ricardo Burke. Amazing, amazing brother. I'm so happy that he is here tuned in. There's so many people that I would like to give a shout out, man, but we need about 2 hours for this show, Miss Sarah. But I
Yes.
really want us to really consider how the population is changing. Right now, life expectancy is age 77. 100 years ago, man, you might live to be like damn 19. So
Absolutely.
as the age of this life expectancy changes, then that means that people will need folks to help take care of them. I saw it written that it's because of like modern medicine and different things that are technology that help people to live longer. But as you age, you need assistance and people to take care of you. And I know that we have Sister Gwen Levi that's tuned in. Her mother's 95. We got my man Brock. Brock is tuned in. He's taking care of his mother. My brother Aaron Johnson, a beautiful young brother, just come from incarceration. He's taking care of his grandmother and his grandfather while he's trying to get a job, while he's trying to get on his feet. But God put that thing in his heart to understand that I have to take care of my grandparents, because many of us was raised by our grandparents. When my mother and father was dealing with their addiction issues, it was my grandmother. She passed away. Whew,
Yep. And while
she passed away at age 95 last year. And I'm grateful.
Amen. Amen, Monica. And for those individuals who are caretakers, if you need resources, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. There is this major caregivers forum that's happening at Coppin in the next couple of weeks. I don't have the date with me. And there has been legislation passed. If you are taking care of your loved one, there is an additional $500 that you can apply for and you're eligible for. So please reach out and get that money, because and I want to just say to the caregivers, and I learned this by attending some of the caregivers programs, you have to do self-care. You cannot take care of someone else unless you take care of yourself as well. And what I do on an inexpensive basis, I go and get a massage. There's a massage school at 28th and Loch Raven. You can get an hour massage for $45 and just take a walk, go out and walk if you can't do anything else, but you have to. And there are funds that can assist you. So please contact, I can't think of her name right now, but if you call the health department, Baltimore City Health Department, and ask for the caregivers department, they can help you to help yourself and the person that you are caring for, because that's really very important.
Thank you. Thank you for that information. And you guys, we've been showing you Sister Sarah and her contact information, because here at track number 9, we want to connect the dots, if you will, but instead of connecting the dots, we are connecting the tracks. I just so happen to love trains. I grew up in a house where every Christmas my grandfather would have a little Hess train and a Hess truck. So we grew up with Lionel train sets. I'm amazed by trains, and we'll get to that one day. But everything about a train is one of the reasons why we get our computers. It's one of the reasons why we get our healthcare items, the bottled water. That stuff gets to you by a train. So all that cargo gets to you by train, and we want to connect these tracks so that we can have solutions and be on the right track, because that is what God wants for us. I promise you, that is what God wants for us. He wants us to get on the right track. And when we come together every Saturday at 9 a.m. What we will find is commonality. We got our sister Giselle Hicks on here, another sister that has taken care of her aunt for years, for years. So she know what it's like to take care of older people in your family. So I mean, we have commonality. We got to do is connect these dots and connect these tracks, and let's share and let's figure out some solutions. I might take advantage of that $45 massage my doggone self. You know what I mean? We
Yeah.
appreciate all that information. And Dr. Lamb is here, you know, another good sister that's doing great work in the community. Liz Beatty is here. Man, I could just go on and on. Patrice Bimbo, again, you know, we got my man Jerome from Cambridge. We got Sister Cheryl that's checking us out. She's from California right now, and I believe she's in North Carolina. But wherever this sister is, she always tune in. So I definitely appreciate everybody watching. The other thing I wanted to go back to, something that you said, was how the senior centers have this mixed use, because we have two things going on. We have young men and women who are gunshot survivors, who are survivors of violence. They might be wheelchair bound now. They might be unable to get around, and instead of the powers that be to say, well, we need to create a facility specifically for this person who is still young, 28 years old, 19 years old, still vibrant, but they're now disabled. And that young mind does not think and operate the same as the older people. So, like Miss Sarah said, is thank you, Sister Carly. I'm glad you're here, Sister Carly Thomas. But like Sister Sarah said, now we have buildings all over Baltimore, all over Maryland, that have young people that's being prescribed pain meds, for their injuries. They selling perks, they selling drugs, they doing all sorts of things in the space where a 80-year-old is living. So that's something that we should consider having these young people have their own facility to help address their needs and their problems. That population, as far as I'm concerned, don't mix. But what you have is you have vultures that take advantage of poor people, elderly people that don't have a voice for themselves. So they will come and set up a daggone senior center, or, oh, excuse me, I didn't mean to say that word, older
adult.
let me take that back. But to set up an older adult facility so that they can fill it, because they understand the numbers. They understand the data. The data says that this time next year, we're going to have 200 more seniors. The following year, 300 more seniors. 10 years from now, 1,000 seniors, because God is merciful and he is allowing people to live longer. But as people live longer, we have to figure out, how do we deal with our communities? How are we going to treat our grandmothers, our aunties, and our uncles as they age? And I always tell folks, it starts at the ballot. Brother Malcolm X says the ballot or the bullet. I never really knew what that meant because I ain't never studied, but I like the way it sounds. So I do. But I always like to impress upon people that we have to get involved on a legislative scale, because everything that we do leads back to policy and legislation, whether it is the elevators that are broken, whether it is, making sure that Meals on Wheels have the funding and the stuff that they need and their program is running good to help feed the seniors. We got my guy, Johnny Jones. Johnny Jones is on here. He works with Living Classrooms, and Johnny Jones himself knows full well about the aging population in our prisons, and how do we make sure that if they're viable, how we make sure that a 65-year-old man or woman can still work, because some people still want to work. But in our society, youth is king. Youth is king. They feel like because you're 25 years old, you can give my company at least 50 good years. Mm-hmm. So the greedy among us are willing to make the investment in the 25-year-old, in many cases won't show up. That's not reliable. So, unfortunately, when you go into McDonald's now, because of the limits on Social Security, because of people's income, it's nothing to see a 65-year-old at the cash register. This is our society. Look at it. Look around you when you go into Walmart. Your greeter, man, I gotta be honest. I went to Walmart on Washington Boulevard. I say, damn, I know this man gotta be 95 years old. He was standing up all the miles. I say he better than me. His knees and ankles is better than mine. Because this older gentleman had been standing and he looked like he was just having fun. I say, man, I would have quit. I would have quit.
We need the money.
Stamina. I know we have stamina to stand up at that door, keep on talking about, hi, welcome to Walmart. Hello, welcome to Walmart. I told you I get me a damn chair and I can stand at this door. But we have to consider all of those things. With our returning citizen population, most of them went in without ever even having a job. Some of them guys went in, like my man Hassan, man. He went in when he was like about 15. So now he's out. He haven't put any money into Social Security. So they getting a bare minimum. They might be getting some. I think the checks might be $800, $900. That's how much they're able to bring in. So you think about it. Who can survive on $900? You know who can survive? A person that's able to get subsidized housing and go according to your income. A person that's able to get supplemental food stamps to help them. You know what I mean? So, man, this is really a great subject, and so many other people that are here are faced with those things.
Yeah, and Monica, one of the things that the empowerment team did last year was to lobby for an increase in the SNAP benefit for older adults, because initially it was $15 a month, then it was $30 a month, and we asked for a $95 increase last year, but they only would approve $10. So older adults, even though the economy has changed and you maybe can go into a store and buy 2 items for $40, and because we live in subsidized housing, it does not equate with the economy. And so that everyone got that $10 increase. But I believe, and I am going to lobby for older adults to get another increase. We find money in the budget for everything else, but we cannot give older adults $50 a month towards their food supply when all the prices have escalated in this past year. And I hope that someone who's listening will look at the fact that older adults that are incarcerated in prison and jail, if you go to jail or prison when you're, say, 15 years old and you spend 20 and 30 years behind bars, well, when you get out, and I found this out by working at Project Place, they only live maybe 5 to 10 years because they've been in there with the mold and all of the other feces and inhaling all of that, and they actually pass away. And a lot of people are not cognizant of the fact that they really don't live. So someone should do some research and come up with the program. And one of the things that I was really concerned about, I taught at the Maryland State Penitentiary, and a lot of my students are out, productive citizens of the society, have not reoffended. and have not contributed to the recidivism rate, they deserve a second chance. And I had to learn this from the Reverend Jesse Jackson. As a teenager, I went with him every Saturday, it was a busload of us that went with him every Saturday to take kids to prisons and jail to visit their parents, because it's important that kids have some connection to their parents. And so I'm hoping that we will take into consideration what happens and how much money we spend on incarceration as opposed to rehabilitation. And I understand the last few years that the money for education has been taken out of the prison and jail. So if you're not going to help these individuals to find a way to have a skill set when they get out, then what are they going to do to survive? Because and this is hard for people to imagine, but an individual who's been incarcerated for a long period of time, say for instance, again, someone who's 15, they don't even know how to take the public transportation when they get out. I really try and encourage every older adult that I know, or individual period, to go to, I think whatever the company is, that the sports company is leaving me right now, but they hire and they pay good money, and you can always get an ID. But the part that we must do as a community, is make the system work for everyone, not just for a few people, but for everyone, because everyone deserves a second chance. And some of those might not take advantage of that, but the empowerment team, and I just want to call out our members, which is Krista Parker, Liz Briscoe, John Kern, Reba Corman, Sandra Dobson, Wesley Wood, Roxanne Roberson, and the rest of us are out here fighting for legislation. And I want older adults to be mindful for who you are voting for. These people control our lives, and we must stop voting for people because they have the most signs in the yard. They send out the most expensive literature. We must support those individuals who support us, and they take advantage. The powers to be, the people who are running for office, they want to say, oh, I love you because my grandmother or my mother. But when it comes to policy and caring the fact that we are being abused in older adult buildings in Baltimore City, you need to take action, and take it now. Don't wait for us to die and talk about, oh, the poor older adults. We need your support now.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I want to give a shout out to Wanda Best. Miss Best is helping to build the Upton community. In fact, I gotta say, Sister Sarah Citroni is here. I gotta say thank you to Miss Wanda, because I'm actually sitting in my beautiful home with the community assistance. With her assistance, I was able to purchase my first house. So I'm so glad that Miss Wanda Betts is here. Brother Dale Green, that's my guy, man. I'm glad he's here. My home girl, Sharon Dews from Sandtown, she's here. And Carmen Johnson, all the way from PG County. She does court watch in PG County, and I know that Carmen Johnson have run across so many elders who are caught up in the system. And I think Sister Crystal Parker says it feels like they punish you for aging, for getting older. In fact, they are trying to raise the Social Security limit. The more people age, the more they try to raise the limit of when you can actually get money that you worked for. There's some talk on a federal level that they want to actually get rid of it. They call it an entitlement. The people in the federal government and government period that are our leaders call the money that you have worked for an entitlement. And they want to get rid of it, and they want to privatize Social Security. The idea that you would be benefiting from Medicaid or medical assistance, they call that an entitlement. But on your paycheck, they got this stuff called FICA. I never knew what the hell FICA was anyway. But they have taxes and tax dollars that they take out of your check. So when you are older, that you will be able to be taken care of. It's so sad because in other cultures, they revere their elders. And in America, it seems contrary. When a person get older, they should have everything that they need. If I were queen, if I were queen.
We wish you were.
Amen. If I were queen, everybody that reached a certain age would not have to pay another dime for it. They would have a home. It's enough houses in this nation to make sure that our elders, I would give them a house. That's your prize for being blessed by our Lord for reaching that age. So vote for me to be queen. Anywho, this has been absolutely a great conversation. I want to thank everybody who has tuned in from the West Coast, from PG County, from the Eastern Shore. My girl Cheryl Ward, she's down there in Carolina, and she's still hopping on. And if you know anybody, share this track number 9 with them, because wherever they are, in Spain, they might be at the Winter Olympics now, but they still in Italy. They can still tune into our show, and I really appreciate it. Good morning, Coco. Oh, Miss Nikita. I'm so glad she's here, Miss Nikita Matthews. Man, she is an amazing person. She does a lot of work in real estate. And I'm crazy about Nikita because she is a kind and gentle person and willing to help anybody. She came to my aid and my assistance, saying she was willing to assist me. So I'm glad Miss Nikita have joined us. She is a good, God-fearing person. And she's right. America has gone backwards, but it's only going backwards for some people. They only see a future for some people in this country, and everything else seems to be geared towards stifling the growth of communities, stifling the idea that one day Miss Sarah might live to be 95. To some people, they don't want that, and that's crazy to me. That is not of God. They don't want to see a society where you have 95-year-old people just everywhere. That's the society that I want to see. But, we almost ready to close out. And what I do want to share with everybody is, as we speak about legislation and as we speak about policy, yes, I am running, Monica Cooper, for re-election the State Central Committee. I have been elected to the Democratic State Central Committee in the 40th District in 2018. And then I like to say that they didn't get enough of me, so they wanted some more. So they re-elected me in the 40th District. My peers re-elected me in 2022. This time, what I'm going to do is I'm having an event over at Nancy by Snack. That's our guy, Kevin Brown, downtown Kevin Brown. That's my man. Nancy by Snack is an amazing place in the 40th District, right over there where Micah is. But Crystal Parker, who I'm praying will be your next delegate in the 40th District, we are going to be there, and we're going to discuss things that matter to the reentry community. Because as we see, millions of people are incarcerated throughout this country. In Baltimore, you have at least, they're going there, 80% of the population have been touched in some kind of way or had engagement in the criminal justice system. And their issues are specific, like this, like what we're talking about today. Their issues are specific to people who are returning, because some folks feel like, the older people who are formerly incarcerated don't deserve anything. They don't deserve to have housing. They don't deserve this. It's like when you make a mistake, you are judged for the rest of your life. And guess what? If God judged them, boy, they will be in trouble. Shanice Anderson, I'm glad you're here. My girl Sarah Citrone, I just love myself some Sarah. That is my friend, my lifelong friend. But imagine if God judged you for your mistake. This all of us would be in a pickle. So as we connect these dots and as we try to elect people, like Miss Sarah said, we don't need to elect people because they're coming on your TV 5 times. That just means that some rich person donated to that campaign and they owe them favors. Sister Roxanne Prettyman, that's my girl from the 40th district. I'll be rocking with Miss Roxanne. But we have to start looking at the people who serve our interests. If you know that your uncle just came home after 40 years and you know he's a good person, you know he changed, why not put somebody in place that you know that's going to stand for him? If you know that there's somebody that stand with our older adults, why not put them in place? So stop to me. I can't tell you what to do. I can't tell you to stop. You can keep on going, but if you keep doing what you're doing, you're going to get what you get. And I'm going to leave it at that. I am always a fervent leader for us, regardless of your race, your age. It doesn't matter because God put it in me to be a leader. I love human beings. I absolutely love it. And I love the idea that we can usher in the world that God wants us to. We're not going to be perfect. Whether you're straight, whether you're gay, it don't matter. You can still be of God. And I'm going to leave it at that because I get to preach. And next thing you know, I'm going to give you my cash app and say, send me some money. Amen. Like the preachers do. But we're going to go ahead and end this show. I'm hoping that you guys will show up and I'm hoping that you guys will support our sister for the next delegate in the 40th district. And I'm hoping that you will support me for re-election in the State Central Committee. And even if you are not from those districts, please come hear this conversation because I know that it's probably not one person here who don't know somebody that's been impacted by the criminal justice system, whether it's your son, your juvenile baby that is out there, you're trying to get control of him. Yeah. Anyway, we 2 minutes over. That's because I love y'all. And when you love people, you don't mind talking to them and communicating with them. It's not, oh yeah, Sister Chrome. I forgot to mention Lynette Cromer, Recreation and Parks. She's also dealing with an aging mom. She's a good sister. They always call me Senator Jacket. That's my nickname because they know I'm always going to be a leader. I'm just a leader because that's what God made me to be. It's been a wonderful show. I can't tell y'all how much I appreciate y'all. And I especially can't tell you, Miss Sarah, how much I appreciate you. I got a little emotional earlier thinking about my 95-year-old grandmother that took care of me while my mother and father had addiction issues. So I'm not going to get choked up again. I'm just so grateful that you are doing the work that you are doing. So thank you. And thank you, everybody, for always putting up with my tears. My man, Donnell Wharton, always say, she about to cry.
We love you, Monica.
Yes, ma'am. He already know I get emotional, and I don't mind crying. These are tears of joy, pain, and sorrow, and it's all from our Lord. I accept it. It's what it is. So thank you guys for a great show. Nikita, I can't believe you tuned in. Look at you. Thank you guys. Have a good day.
We inspire greatness at track number 9. Stay on the right track and let your light shine. Step by step, reach for what's true. Track number 9, your greatness is waiting for you.